Hi friends, Dr. Anastasia here, and today I'm actually coming to you with something different. I have a pet peeve that I wanted to talk about, and it's been brewing. What I want to talk about is the use of term narcissism on YouTube and other popular media. And you probably know what I mean. These days I cannot open my YouTube without seeing a latest title of 7 signs you're dating a narcissist, or 9 ways you can beat a narcissist at their own game, or there are even channels and books and blogs totally devoted to victims of narcissistic abuse, which apparently now is becoming a whole diagnosis on its own. So here's what my pet peeve is with this. And I am in no way invalidating the experience of victims who underwent this abuse. No way. I know this happens a lot. However, why do we blame it all on this diagnosis, narcissism, which is not even that malicious? In fact, a lot of the attributes that I see people attributing to narcissists actually sound more like sociopaths and psychopaths. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about that in another video if you request one. Here's what I suggest. I really do admire the content makers who show people that they were manipulated and how they were manipulated. I think it's great that public is being educated about gaslighting, what that means, and other shady techniques such as love bombing. However, I want to propose, how about instead of using a term narcissist for all these people who did these things, how about we just call them toxic relationships or immature people or assholes? You don't have to be a narcissist in order to love bomb somebody. You can actually be just an emotionally immature, codependent person. You can be an addict. A lot of addiction behaviors are very similar to what people ascribe to narcissists, the self-absorption and so on and so forth. And I mean addicts who are not in recovery. Now, there is liars and cheaters and just pure jerks and shady characters. Does it mean they have a narcissistic personality disorder? I seriously doubt it. If you count all the comments and all the people who are accusing their exes of being narcissists, that really doesn't jive with the statistics that we have about the real prevalence of narcissistic personality disorder, which is pretty rare. I don't like to use mental health diagnosis to stigmatize people more. Narcissistic personality disorder is actually a very difficult and painful disorder to have for the person who has it. Yes, they don't experience empathy a lot, and they sometimes act in self-aggrandizing ways. But if you read the literature behind the origins of these disorders, all of these things are considered to be defense mechanisms for the chronic feeling of emptiness and lack of a sense of self. This profound lack of self-esteem because they were hurt as children. They did not get the admiration necessary for children to develop a healthy self-esteem. So yes, they might use people to derive their self-esteem from there. However, narcissistic personality disorder is a very specific, delineated diagnosis. It is a pattern of symptoms. We can diagnose it when enough of the symptoms jive together and when this person experiences a pervasive presence of these symptoms from early adulthood, late teens, and it impacts their relationships. It causes significant distress, sometimes to them, well, most of the time others around them. Here's another thing that I can't understand. You all keep saying how narcissists can be super charming in the beginning. Some of them can be, but this is actually more common for sociopaths and psychopaths. In fact, narcissists tend to be pretty boring. There is even such a phenomenon in therapy world among psychologists. How do you know when you're working with a narcissist? You know, because you fall asleep during the session. You feel that lack of connection. It's not charming. In fact, it does feel kind of boring and superficial. So I don't know why the poor narcissistic personality disorder people get accused of all these things. Also, have you considered there are whole websites, blogs, books, trainings devoted to develop an art of pickup, and for those guys who may not get the women they want and they want to be popular, there's plenty of advice for them from these gurus. One of them is called Mystery, and if you haven't read the book The Method, go ahead and read it and you'll see most of the things you mentioned, especially in the beginning stages of the relationship, that these people use in order to make the woman give it up more easily and in order to make somebody get attached to you, somebody out of your league, basically. And these methods work. I mean, take intermittent reinforcement. What they do is they give you crumbs to put balm on your self-esteem. And then what they do is they nag you, which is they will take you down to lower your self-esteem and make you more vulnerable so that you feel like only they can provide you with that validation. You want to seek their validation. You want to impress them. Love bombing is an old technique that people use. They love bomb you and then they ghost you. Come on, guys, this has been around forever. If somebody's doing that, it doesn't mean they are a narcissist. I want to emphasize again, I know people who have been through toxic relationships and who have been profoundly affected by them. I would consider those relationships with psychopaths or sociopaths. Why don't we just give up using diagnosis and let psychologists deal with them? Why don't we focus on behaviors? That would be much more helpful. Why don't we just say victims of toxic relationships? And then yes, it will be very helpful to teach people about gaslighting and other ways that other can undermine their self-esteem and screw up and mindfuck their whole world. Absolutely. I want to say about this behaviors. Also, what's missing is I want to see these channels to also address not just the label of the person you were with who supposedly caused all of this, and they probably did, but I also want them to ask people to self-reflect and look at why do you think you stayed in this relationship as long as you did. I understand getting in the relationship, but after a while, after the abuse keeps happening, why do you think you stayed? What is it that you need to grow in yourself? And it is usually your own self-esteem. This is in no way blaming the victim. I have profound respect for women who get out of and who stay for safety reasons in abusive relationships. And I worked with a lot of them. I was one myself. What I want to say is, the real growth happens when we look at ourselves and the reasons why we may be attracted to certain types of people. And then here's the last thing I'm gonna say. That other word that I see used all the time, empaths. It's everywhere. Are you an empath? I don't think there is such a thing. I do believe some of us are more psychologically attuned than others and have more emotional intelligence, and we can read people better if we have poor interpersonal boundaries, which we're not to blame for that. Usually it happens because you grew up in a family that consistently invalidated your boundaries, or a family that never taught you healthy boundaries. This can create what some people call an empath, or a person who is super attuned to others' feelings and are kind of unable to step back from them, and they get drained after being with certain people. I'm saying this because I used to be exactly the same way, and after working on my boundaries in therapy, I can tell you that I now can be around any type of person and come out of it feeling the same way I did, even though I still was able to tune into them and read their psychological tells and all of that, and feel their emotions. So that's just another thought. Please do let me know if you want to hear more about the difference between narcissistic personality disorder, which, by the way, is treatable. It's very, very difficult to treat, but it is treatable. So I don't want us to spread hopelessness and hate for the people who already feel that they have this inherent lack of something. Like they already feel this inherent emptiness and that imposter syndrome, and when they get labeled and hated, it just makes it even more hopeless for them. Yeah, so let me know if you want to know the difference between the three: narcissistic personality disorder, sociopaths, which are actually the official diagnosis would be antisocial personality disorder, and psychopaths, which is not even in the DSM-5, but more of a spectrum, more so towards the end of the spectrum for the antisocial personality disorder. I hope this makes sense, and if you disagree with me, please comment and please express your opinion. And also, I really do understand that a lot of you went through horrible things, and there is no way that I am invalidating that, and no way that I'm blaming a victim. And again, some of those channels are very helpful in helping us identify the manipulative tactics that some people use to get what they want. My last word is I do believe there is an industry developing out of the poor narcissists diagnosis and all these new terms being coined. I believe there is a bandwagon developing with life coaches and offering services to recover from narcissistic abuse, which is no different than if you go to a regular therapist and work on your relational trauma. Sorry, my kids in the background. All these books written and channels monetized because of this inflammatory use of this word. And yeah, I just want to clarify my opinion on this. Thank you so much for watching this. Do let me know what you think about this opinion, whether you agree, disagree. I am very open to feedback, and I really appreciate you spending time to watch me talk about this. Thank you. Bye, friends.
So welcome to the show. Bring on all the lights. Let it shine on you. We're together here tonight. Welcome to the show.